Husky
All right.
hoops.
We are here for Husky Hoops, and I am the sort of host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, the greatest influencer and content creator. He is going to be a monster shortly. The coach himself, David Schuman. And then we also have the icon, the voice of the Huskies himself. You can't get any better. This is the best of the best coverage of UConn basketball you'll ever find. Joe D'Ambrosio.
Wow.
Welcome.
It's a lot to live up to.
Joe, I wanted to tell you this, and I know it's tough to pick favorites. It's like picking between sons and everything. But if you had to pick a favorite former offensive lineman, I would like to think it would be me.
You'd be in the top 20.
That's
Top 20.
somewhat promising.
I'd say Brian Markowski's up there.
Marco's up there. Yep.
Dan Hicks is up there.
Yep.
Billy Irwin is certainly up there.
Billy Irwin?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You know what? For the next time we do this, I'll do some research and I'll rank the top 20 offensive linemen in my time at UConn.
Who would be one? Who would be number one?
He said he liked Markowski.
I think it would be Markowski.
Markowski's a Jersey guy. Markowski was a Jersey prick, so I can see that for sure.
What about Lyndon Johnson?
He's thinking Ryan Krug too. Ryan Krug, I think you're thinking of.
Krug would be right up there.
Krug
Yeah, you would like Krug.
So I've got a homework project for next time.
He does.
Looking forward to that.
He does. We're putting him to work right away. I was just looking at this, and they're raising the banner tonight, but it also said that the freshman Liam McNeely may be injured slightly with like a calf strain. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's cause for concern. I think if it was a higher profile opponent, he probably could play. But don't forget, Steph Castle missed 5 or 6 games last year too. I think you're always a little more cautious with freshmen. And look, they got plenty of depth. They can just plug, solo ball or not solo ball. They can just plug Isaiah Abraham in there. They can plug the kid from St. Mary's, Mahaney, in there.
Yep.
So they've got depth. But it sounded to me from what I was reading that it sounds like McNeely should be good to go tonight.
Oh, good. So they are going to be able to give him some work.
Yeah,
give him
a little run.
And I just had another question because I was curious. He was named to the Naismith watch list. Oh. Is that normal for a freshman?
Oh.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, Cooper Flagg is on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not unusual.
It's not unusual.
It's nice, but you know what it means?
I know it means nothing.
It means absolutely nothing.
I know it means absolutely nothing.
It does, to be honest with you, top 20 offensive linemen, all it does is put more of a bullseye on the kids.
Pressure. A little more pressure on you.
Yeah, exactly.
It puts pressure on them. Yeah, I was just surprised to see that.
Not against the lowly Sacred Heart Pioneers, but.
Well, I mean, look at the first. This is typical for a highly ranked program. First for Sacred Heart. Well, I'm not going to diss because I'm friends with their coach Anthony Latina, and they're going to do better in the MAC this year than I think people expect. But then you got New Hampshire and Lemoyne and Texas A&M Commerce. I mean,
okay,
those are 4. It's kind of like an exhibition season. You without calling it that. You may remember that when archenemy Diaco took over as the football coach, he said the first 3 games. He said the first 3 games of his first season were going to be treated like exhibition games,
like preseason. Yeah, that's right.
which is nice when you're paying people, when you're making people pay the full price. And I'm sure it made the opponents feel really good.
Yeah. He did.
Is Sacred Heart no longer in the Northeast Conference? They're in the
Nope,
MAC.
they moved to the MAC this year.
Okay.
They
And
and
that's
Merrimack moved to the MAC.
That's the MAC with the 2 A's, right?
Fairfield and Quinnipiac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good league. It's a good mid-major league.
Yeah. Is that where Albany's not in there anymore, right? Albany's in the NEC.
Albany's in the NEC.
That's what I thought. Okay. But yeah, I was looking. Yeah. That was surprising to see, but it's a better fit for them.
I think so.
From what I've seen from Sacred Heart.
They just renovated their building. Supposedly they did a great job with the pit center, making it a little bit bigger, a little bit better environment. So, I mean, they didn't get to the NCAA in their time in the NEC. MAC's a better league, so maybe that makes it even tougher. But they've got it. I think they'll give UConn. They're not going to beat UConn. That's only happened like twice since UConn got really good in these opening games of the season. But I think they'll be competitive for a while.
Yeah, it's always tough early on, especially when the guys are gelling, and they lost 4 guys from the draft last year, and the new players that they're breaking in, but they still have some of their core coming back, and I'm excited to see the 7-footer dude play. He was just massive. Samson, was that his name?
Samson Johnson.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he played last year. He was Donovan's backup.
Okay, so he did get some time.
He played every game last year. When Klingon was hurt, he actually played pretty well.
He played in the national championship game a lot.
Yeah. No, he's the new guy, Steve. I think the new guy you're referring to is the Reed kid from Michigan.
Okay, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
that's who I'm thinking of.
Horace Reed. Yeah,
that's who I'm thinking of. Okay, because they were saying that the biggest thing that Hurley does well is develops players, and he's going to have to develop a lot of new players this year, especially some who are stepping into starting roles. Like you mentioned, the Jalen Stewart, who and Ross, who were planned to play roles off the bench. They could be off the bench. They could be starters. They don't know how they're going to mesh and mix in yet, and that's kind of what the first few games will tell us. Or do you think
you always got to have people ready in case of injuries?
Yeah,
you never know when somebody's gonna go down with a knock, and it's gonna cut your depth by 1. So and again, I think the benefit for Ross and Stewart and Solo Ball too is that they've been in the system for a year. They know what's expected of them. Nothing's going to catch them by surprise.
Right.
What's so interesting is that like when you get transfers like Reed and others, these guys are transferring up essentially because it's not like they didn't play where they were. They're trying to win national championships, also be a part of something to win a national championship. And I think that's what's so interesting about when you get to that level that Hurley has the mat, especially in basketball, the number of 2 players, shoot, 1 player makes a huge difference. 2 players is 1 player is you're in the hunt for a championship. 2 players is you're going to have a good chance to win the championship again, and that's what's so interesting about when you get to that level that these guys are like, hey, I want to get in there and I want to win a national championship. And then, obviously in basketball, if they do very well, they're usually off to the NBA, whether they get drafted high or not. They're going off to try and play in the NBA, and if not, they go play in Europe, right? But that's kind of the path now. Like he's got that kind of thing going, which I think is really really, and he embraces it too. I think he really embraces it, and he coaches them so hard.
Right.
When you get into that system, like you're going to get better fast. Whatever you came from before, good, bad, or indifferent, you're gonna scale up fast.
Well, either that or you're going to sink.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna,
You know?
or you can be limited in your minutes. Very limited.
You're going to know. You're going to know right away where you stand.
Yep. I think that's what's really I love that style, and I think in especially in today's basketball with NIL and transfer portal, it allows you to scale up quick for a guy like Hurley.
Yeah,
It takes a lot of work, and the players got to be a fit with your system and a fit with your program ideals. Not everybody is a perfect fit. I mean, they've hit home runs the last couple years. Certainly, Calcaterra was one. Diarra, certainly Tristan, Newton, and now you have the same thing with the two kids this year.
Right. Now, is everyone coming back? I was just curious because they're raising the banner and everything. Will the players
the
from
NBA guys aren't coming back? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
They're working for money now.
Yeah, they're long gone. I was just curious.
No.
That's such a great moment. I was there for
and
one of them.
that's mainly for the fans.
Yeah, I mean,
it's mainly a thing
show
for the 10,000 who show up at Gamble. It's not for the kids. I mean, obviously it's enjoyable for the kids, but that's more of a thing for the fans than it is for anybody else.
Yeah, getting them to raise another banner, especially 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And that's why they draw.
I'm curious about, like, does Hurley try to, when he recruits those players that he's replacing, does he have a formula of the kind of guy that he's looking at each one of those? Because it looks like he tries to recruit a similar style in each position. Does he really try to consciously do that, or for what he's doing? Like, some guys just try to get the very best.
Hold on a minute. I got a question. Cully, what the hell are you smoking?
That's my gimmick. It's just a cigarette. I'm not smoking pot or anything.
All right.
It's my gimmick. It's my gimmick. That's why.
Okay.
No,
I didn't realize you had a gimmick. I'm sorry, Dave. I was just. I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right. No. Listen, the first time I saw it, Joe, I said, "What am I on with? What am I on with?" And now I see him smoking the cigarettes, and I feel like I'm in a Marlboro commercial.
Well, you said that's when I'm at my best when I start tugging on the cigarettes.
Yes. Well, I know you're coming up with a good question. Yeah,
I'm in podcast mode when I smoke the cigarettes. Yeah.
What, you smoke Newport? What do you smoke? Newport News or something? Or
I smoke Newports.
Newport, made in Newport News.
What do you pay a pack for cigarettes?
Joe, I pay $15.71 per pack.
Oh, God.
Jesus, Mary at the lake.
But I do manage to go a week with a pack, so I've been much better. I haven't been spending as much money on the cigarettes, so that's one thing that's a little more productive.
You get them a pack at a time, or do you pay like $300 for a carton?
No, I should go to the casino and I should go get a carton. That would be cheaper. We got the Turning Stone Casino that's right nearby. I should go up there and get a carton of them, especially since menthols are going to be outlawed in New York shortly. I'm going to have to figure out something. Someone's going to have to be mailing them to me from Massachusetts. I don't know.
Dave, what was your question? I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole.
It's definitely a rabbit hole. So what I was saying was, like, how he puts those pieces together. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like he has a certain, like, some guys go and recruit the very best players they can get their hands on and try to figure it out. He seems to recruit a similar kind of guy for each position, including the backups. Like, they fit that that same exact mold. It's very, very interesting. I don't know if that's a lot of coaches do it, but I noticed that he does it, and it works really well. It reminds me of now basketball. Obviously, it has a bigger impact than football, but it reminds me as how some football coaches recruit specifically for their system, and others
Right.
try to get the very best guys they can get their hands on.
Yep.
Obviously one form, it doesn't make one formula better than the other, but is that what you've noticed with his how he does it?
I think you're 100% right, Dave. I think they don't rebuild, they reload. I mean, Newton leaves, Diarra's there to pick up at the point. Spencer leaves, he brings in the Mahaney kid. Castle leaves, and he brings in McNeely. Klingon leaves, and he brings in Reed. It's about filling the position with people with similar skill sets so that you don't have to change everything around in your offense or your defense. But I think, yeah, I don't have any doubts that he and the staff try to reload at a position. They've got a certain skill type that they're looking for at the shooting guard. They've got a certain skill type that needs to do certain skills at the small forward. And I think that's now look, if you had a generational talent like Cooper Flagg is supposed to be, then you don't worry about that. But you keep getting kids in the top 100, and again, I think those numbers are crap, but they use them. But you get kids who are highly touted, no matter what their number is. Then I think you can do that. And plus, as we said last week, look, kids want to come here because they know they'll have a shot at the show.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons. And the difference I've always wondered between basketball and football is football coaches, they tend to, if their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, they don't have the personnel to run the system that they're used to, they will adjust the system to the talent they have. I don't know if basketball, do they necessarily do that? If they don't have, okay, they do.
Oh, yeah.
He will. They will adjust if they don't.
Yeah, not everybody operates like UConn does.
Okay.
In that regard, some teams just go for the best available talent and they'll figure out a way to get them to play together. And a lot of times that works, and sometimes it doesn't. But I think there's a lot of teams that just go out and stockpile talent. And
like Gino probably does that, right? Like Gino seems like he's, at least in the old days, used to stockpile talent, and he'll figure out where to put them. Depending on
I don't think that's as much the case anymore.
Okay.
But I think you're right. I think they did,
Yeah, because there's so much more
harder.
parity. As you talked about, there's so much more parity in the women's game than even 15, 20 years ago. There's so many
more so than 10 years ago.
Yeah. There's many more good teams. And it's just crazy to see UConn not always winning national championships, going this long without winning one, and the rankings too.
Well, they're second this year. There's not much more you can do than that.
No, I get that.
And look, they go to the Final Four almost every year. And then when you get to the Final Four, sometimes it's a crapshoot. Sometimes it's matchups. Last year they match up with Iowa. UConn didn't have a bunch of players, and they still almost won to get to the championship game.
Right. No, I saw that for sure. And then just looking at the schedule,
you saw it through the haze of smoke.
The haze of smoke. I mean,
so at least it's not purple haze.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
So, I mean, the real test you mentioned was the Baylor game. They got Baylor, Texas, and Gonzaga.
Well, they'll get tested in Hawaii.
Right.
You
that
can go to
tournament.
Hawaii and play Memphis, Michigan State, and North Carolina. That would be a pretty good. That would be a pretty good 3 teams to to fight your way through. But
Right.
the game, the Baylor game at Gamble, the game at Texas, the Gonzaga game at Madison Square Garden, those are all really good tune-ups because then right after that, you're in the Big East play.
You're in the Big East play. Right. And I was looking to see, is it really Creighton and Marquette, Nova? Those are the three top teams. And you
I
said
don't think
St.
Nova.
John's.
No, Nova's not.
Not Nova.
I think St. John's is. I think the top four are UConn, Creighton, Marquette, and St. John's.
So, yeah, St. John's is second year with Patino, especially.
Right. And again, they brought in, he's a guy that just brings in a bunch of talent and figures out where they're going to play. He brought in a kid. He brought in Kadari Richmond from Seton Hall. So when St. John's plays Seton Hall, that's going to be bloodletting. And I'm not. Look, the kids can transfer all they want, but there used to be a league rule in the Big East. If you transferred from one big school to the other, you didn't have to sit out 1 year. You had to sit out 2
years. Yeah. And I think the NCAA was trying to put a limit on that for the transfer portal to cut it to 2 instead of 3, because I know some kids were transferring like it was basically free agency.
Well, I mean, there's some kids who are on their 4th school.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
So they'll redshirt or whatever, and then they'll transfer 4 times basically, and that's what I mean about like developing players, developing mental toughness. It's if you're not playing early on, instead of working and trying to get better and trying to get yourself into the rotation, you just want out. You grow yourself in the portal.
I don't want to be the get off my lawn guy. It's a whole different world.
No, I agree.
Plus, the athletes are hearing from their high school coaches. They're hearing from their AAU coaches. They're hearing from their quote unquote advisors. They're hearing from their parents. They got so many voices in their head. And if you think you got a kid who should be playing somewhere, then you encourage them to leave and find another place.
Yeah. And that's what I don't like. That's what I think, that you build your mental toughness by sticking it out and working and getting better and improving. And that's how you get on the court. You don't just get up and leave. I mean, there's got to be some sense of loyalty. And I know money's involved, and that makes things a lot different. But when you
basketball, that went out the door long before NIL. Went out the door with one and done.
Yes.
When one and done came in.
Yeah.
I mean, the NCAA conscious, I think I said this last time. I always think you're better off of letting them leave in high school. If they want to go to the pros, like for better or worse, like they go, like LeBron did, or
Kobe,
the numerous guys, Tracy McGrady, like those guys go hit or miss, right? Whether they succeed, but you're better off like letting them go, taking their shot, and then you don't have to worry about babysitting that stuff. But the one and done puts that back into the mix. I mean, that's what I think is so great about Hurley's system of how he fits the players into what he does. He's not hamstrung year to year because he's looking for specific guys in each one of those spots. So a guy has a great year, these guys move on, Castle, and they move on, right? And it's not the detriment that it would be to some of these other basketball programs, because he's recruiting. They're out, like Joe said, they're all top players, but he's recruiting a guy that fits a certain profile for him, and that profile allows him to have a person that goes into that role, plays that style of game, and he doesn't have to vary it slightly. Like he can, a guy like Clean comes in there, he could bang it down low a little more, be a little more physical, right? A guy comes in like Sampson, who's more of a jumper. He could, move the game a little. But he has the guy. His backup is a little more like Klingon. You know what I mean? He's not as tall, but he's a little more like Klingon. He's a little more physical. You know, so he kind of puts those guys into those pegs, into those roles, and that allows. For me, I would think it would allow me as a coach to have a certain ability to have a certain level of certainty of what I can look at in
Right.
the game. Like, okay, this guy who I recruited for this role is fulfilling what I recruited him to do. He's not fulfilling it. I could fix certain things, or next year I'm going to have to find a guy to fill that role because he's
Right.
not really doing what I need.
Right.
I got to get a guy to do this specific thing or these sets of specific things, which I think is I think is really, really it's a phenomenal model. It's a phenomenal model. I'm sure people are trying to copy it.
Well, it's worked so far. There could come a time where it doesn't work, where you bring two kids in and they can't fill that role.
Right.
And then you basically, you waste the year.
Right.
So
right.
it's you've got to be pretty exact in knowing what if you're doing it that way, recruiting to a need instead of just recruiting mass talent. You've got to be pretty sure that the guy you have coming in he's not going to be a square peg in a round hole. He's going to be a round peg in a round hole.
Right. Whereas like Calipari recruits getting purely the very best guys he can get, and then he tries to figure out how he can get them to do what he needs them to do, which is a totally different model. But I guess they've all netted results, whether you like the model or dislike the model. They've netted results. But I think your point is really true because if a guy doesn't really fit, well, that year and he knows that, and you see it. He knows he's not getting to the mountaintop that year, and then hopefully next year he gets that fit and he can get back to the mountaintop. Which is, although I'm sure anybody would have taken Cooper Flagg if they could have got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what, right? Especially he's from Maine. How many good players have ever come out of that state other than Cooper Flagg? I guess his brother is going to University of Maine next year or something. But how many players besides Cooper Flagg have ever come out of the state of Maine that was an elite player?
Not as good as he.
No,
that's for sure. Not as good as he.
Joe, out of the 12 scholarship players that they have on the roster right now,
yes,
how many of those kids have expectations, legitimate expectations that they will play in the NBA? Do they all come in thinking I'm going to go to the league?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. They all do. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they may be unrealistic, but they have those expectations, and they should. I mean, you should wanna, if you're playing at a high level D1 program, you should think you could get to the association. Now, will they all? Probably not. But that doesn't mean they can't make a living in Europe. The one thing you don't want to do is get caught on that G League shuffle.
Yeah.
Like Sunoco's on now.
Yeah.
Tristan Newton's going to be on that. Cam Spencer's going to be on that. I think if Caravan had gone, Caravan would be on it this year.
So he made the right decision in coming back.
Oh, absolutely. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, unless he really struggles this year, but nobody thinks he's going to do that because of the type of player that he is.
Right. And they get evaluated and they talk to Hurley and they kind of have an idea of, okay, if I declare for the draft, this is what's going to end up. This is my evaluation. This is where I could end up going.
Right.
So they know.
Well, but that's only for underclass. Like Newton and Spencer, their eligibility was done. So they had no choice. They had to go. And Castle came in as a one and done. So he knew he was leaving. And Klingon, I never bought Klingon leaving after his freshman year. He wasn't ready for the NBA at all.
You thought that was a reach.
After his freshman year. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think most kids, if you stay 2 years, you can really up your value.
God, I can't believe 2
I
years.
very
2
few of
years
these
on.
guys, even the best college guys, very few of them become stars in the NBA. Very, very few. I mean, the guys that are drafted high in the early part of the draft, half the guys are European players.
Right.
You know, I mean, Wembanyama was the last year, I guess. The year before. No, yeah, the year
Last
before.
year.
Yeah, yep. And then so it's a lot. Half of them are European players, and then obviously then you have the college American players. But I watched the draft. It's like I don't know who this guy other than Wembanyama, who I heard about. Obviously, like I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know like they're European players.
Right. Like the top 2 picks this year were both French kids who didn't even make the French Olympic team.
Oh my God! Wow, that is shocking.
Were they younger? Were they younger?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think they're 19.
Yeah,
19 and 20.
because
But
the
you think
European
if a kid's going to get drafted first and second in the NBA draft, he'd be good enough to play for your national team.
You're right.
And
the NBA is like the European player, just because of the success that the European players have had as of late, as far as with them being able to be like big guys that can all pass, shoot, and put the ball on the floor, and they can all do that. It's different than
it's a different style.
in AAU, where you're taught like get up and down the floor as fast as you possibly can. If you get an open shot, shoot it. Like that's completely different than the Europeans and how they're raised on basketball, which has helped when they get drafted at the NBA because they're all the big men. All the big men can handle the ball, which is a unique thing, which in America is not as big a thing. Like the big men don't handle the ball.
Well, and you look at the last 6 NBA MVPs are all European. Jokic 3 times.
Oh wow, that's right.
And then Giannis twice. The last American to an MVP was James Harden back in 17-18.
Wow, it's been that long.
So you can, but he was then you got to go all the way back for a European to Nowitzki, 7. Then you got Nash from Canada in 05 and 06, and
Right.
Duncan from the Virgin Islands. But the last 6 MVPs have all been Europeans. And I would also say, other than maybe Embiid, I don't think Giannis was a top pick. I know Jokic wasn't.
Do any of the younger European players, do they look to come over and play college basketball in the United States?
No, I don't think anymore they do. No.
They don't. Okay.
No, because you can go right to the league. You can go right to the association if you're good enough in college, in amateur ball overseas.
Whatever they're playing, right?
Yeah, one of the only great American young Anthony Edwards is one of the few guys that are of the younger Americans that are really that went to college. I think he went to Georgia.
Yeah, I think so.
That are really in the mix. With thought of in the mix with some of those European players outside of LeBron. I'm talking about the older guys.
Right.
The older guys are for the most part Americans, but the newer players,
right.
Anthony Edwards, one of the few players that are kind of in that mix. Him, what's the slim guy who
Shea Gilchrist-Alexander?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's what's the name? The one guy who got in trouble with the guns for a little bit. John Morant. Yeah, like those. I mean, those are really the 3, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, Tatum
is excellent. Tatum's excellent. It's not as many as it used to, the plethora that it used to be. Like I mean, when the UConn players used to come out, you knew they were gonna, like when Ray Allen and Rip Hamilton, they all were stars in the NBA. right away. Like right away. There's like I don't know if it's a development curve. You might be able to answer that better, but like it seems like maybe that's what the D League is supposed to be for. I don't know, but like it seems like there's like unless you really have certain levels of athletic ability, um, there's a development curve that players like the UConn players or any college players have to go through.
Oh, even the great college players.
Yeah.
Have
Okay.
to
Yeah.
go through a learning process.
Yeah.
In both NBA and WNBA.
Right.
It's rare that somebody walks off a college campus and becomes an immediate star in the NBA.
In the WNBA, the all the Americans are the stars, though, right? There's no. I mean, most of the players are UConn. Half the stars are ex-UConn players, but
not anymore.
Well, there's still like Brianna.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Right. Well, what about Brianna? Brianna's still a star, right? Brianna,
Stewie, yeah.
Tina Charles.
Okay, yeah.
You can call Diana still a star, but her star is fading.
She's at yeah.
It's not as much
as it used to be.
A UConn plethora of UConn talent. I mean, Mule never got off the bench.
Yeah, I saw that.
Second round draft pick. She never played. Never.
Do you
later pick too, right? So, maybe she was mid round. Maybe she was mid first.
No, Mule.
Oh, was she second round or was she?
No, second round.
Second round.
She was okay.
Wow.
Do you see them playing the same starting lineup that they did against Rhode Island against Sacred Heart?
I think unless McNeely's hurt, yeah.
McNeely. Okay.
I don't think that, to be honest with you, I don't think there's much wiggle room right now in the starting lineup. I mean, maybe the Mahaney kid.
Yeah.
If Solo struggles with his shot, but that's why you got the first 4 games. You want to get a good starting unit, and then you want to see who can plug and play.
Right. And you think probably 8 deep they'll go?
Well, you got the starting 5. Stewart's going to play. Reed's going to play. Mahaney's going to play.
Yep.
And then maybe Ross or Abraham. So I think you could go 9. Danny's comfortable playing 9 guys. And
I think that's the way to go too.
Right.
I think the more you can get in, the better.
The big kid Singari is break glass in case of emergency. The freshmen, I know they think are going to be good. I don't know how ready they are to compete at this level now, especially when they get to Maui and that sort of thing. So, that's but you hope to find something out over these first 4 games.
Do they redshirt anyone at this level? They so nobody really redshirts anymore in basketball unless it's for an injury.
No, because unless you're injured. No, because if you redshirt a kid, his ass is going to be out of there going to place he's going to play.
Exactly. Wow, that's
no one wants to redshirt unless they're hurt. It's different than It's different than football where they're trying to get a 5th, 6th, 7th year back.
Yeah.
Well, even football now, Dave. You got you can bring people in. I mean, look at how many people UConn brought in the portal. They brought 30-something kids in.
We had 60 new kids, 60 new faces between the freshmen and the transfer portal. Absolutely. And I think that's why that first game was as rough as it was, unfortunately.
Well, I think the first game was rough because it was Maryland.
Yeah.
I don't think the transfer portal had anything to do with 50 to 7.
No.
Yeah, Power 4 schools are still going to be a battle until they get a certain level of player in.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a different. It's a money thing. I mean, it just. I'm curious. What do they? I don't know if I asked you this last time. What does UConn pay an NAL for their top players at the?
No idea.
For basketball.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, not interested.
Yeah.
No idea. Not interested.
Do they? Is that disclosed or is that kept? Oh, it is. Okay.
I think it's tightly under wraps.
Yeah, they don't disclose it unless you're like Ohio State and you brag about it that you raised $30 million for football.
Right.
Otherwise, they keep it close to the vest. And like I said, I can't believe that like the collectives don't work together. They'll give money to whoever they want to. They don't work with the coach. Some of them don't work with the coaching staffs at all. They just pay who they want to pay and go from there.
Well, that's yes and no. I mean, if a kid's not, they're gonna find out from the coach if a kid's gonna play or not.
Oh, okay.
They're not gonna give somebody. I'm just throwing some out there. It has
You're
no
right.
relevance. I'm just using it as a figure, but they're not going to pay somebody $20,000 if the kid's going to be third string.
Did you see, Joe, that
in fact, let me interrupt you for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
I think it goes the other way around. I think the coach, in fact, I know it does. Coach goes to the NIL and says, "What do we have? What can we do? What can we do for this kid?" I mean, I'm sure they did that for the wide receiver, the kid Ball,
Skylar Bell. Yeah,
Skylar Bell, and then he brought the quarterback with him,
Evers. Yep.
I think it's always the coach goes to the NIL and says, where are we, or can we do this?
Right.
Kid wants like Cully wants $15,000. Can we
He
give
does.
it? So
yeah. Dave, I want $15,000. So
we don't even know if you're top 20 offensive lineman yet. So I'd be holding off. On those pay requests.
If you're not top 20, you may not get much of a sandwich.
You may have to pay us.
Or a carton of cigarettes, I guess, in your case. I had read or saw a video on where they were stating that somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 Olympic sports across universities may get eliminated because of, I don't know if this affects UConn at all, but because the money that it didn't make a ton of sense to me, but essentially the money that everything is costing and facilities and all this other stuff and how they have to raise and then giving it back out, that some of these Olympic sports are going to bite the dust, right?
The non-revenue ones, yeah.
Well, hold on.
You're not bumping.
No, that's not. No, you're not bumping women's sports. I mean,
no, you can't. You can't. No, right.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
You're not bumping women's lacrosse, so you can keep men's rowing.
Right.
It's going to be men's rowing, right?
That's just not going to happen.
So would it be? You're right, because it's Title IX. So if that is true, then you're talking mostly men's sports that will be eliminated, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying because of this.
If you take a men's sport off, then maybe you can take a women's sport out. But you have to have a balance. You can't have, it's not even the sports per se. It's scholarships.
Because the limits are going up.
Given out to the men. And then how many scholarships you're giving out to the women? That's what the barometer is.
Yeah, because the scholarship limits, if I don't know if it went through or not, the scholarship limits are going up in every sport. Just like we talked about football going to 105, that's the scholarship limit and the roster limit. So I read the same article that said that they may cut sports or may not fund other sports fully and then fund the other sports that they think they can make or generate revenue off of.
Well, but you're not going to, but look, baseball's not a revenue generating sport. Nobody's cutting baseball.
No.
Softball's not a revenue.
Well, they may not give this the full scholarship limit. I mean, they were saying instead of because the scholarship went up. Yeah. Because the 105 scholarship limit in football, they may not fund 105 scholarships in football.
Well, they could be partial.
Yeah. Yeah. And they may fund more scholarships in baseball, or they may fund more scholarships in lacrosse. They may not take advantage of the scholarship limit increase across the board that the NCAA has approved, which I thought was just wild. Some of the numbers, if you saw it, that they're looking at, like Charlie Baker.
I just clicked on the 2017 football team, which would have been my last, and I got 2 kids on there already, Brian Keating and Ryan Crozier. So you're screwed. You got no shot.
He's already looking.
You could be 15 to 20, but you are not going to be top 10. I can tell you that right
now. I'm trying to think from my Sherrard Joseph must be up there from my era, and then
yeah, but I didn't cover your teams.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't cover our teams.
No, when did you graduate?
I graduated in 96.
96, yeah.
Oh, I was there. I was there.
You were a voice. Yeah, you were definitely a voice of it.
Did you even play?
What?
How much did you play?
He was a linebacker.
Are you kidding me?
No, I am kidding you. I'm busting your ass.
No, T. Kloss. T. Kloss was.
T. Kloss
I love Trevor. I lost Tavares. Yeah, he'd be up there. Steve, I hate to disappoint you, but he'd be up there.
I'm moving down the list pretty fast. I'm moving down pretty fast.
If we did this for 2 hours, which would make me pull the rest of my hair out, I'm sure I'd find.
Who's your number 1 QB? I'm curious.
Oh, I was always Shane Stafford.
Oh, really?
Shane and Danny. Yeah. 1 and 1A.
Then Danny.
1 and 1A.
Yeah. Shane.
Who would be third for you?
I'll tell you the kid who's the toughest quarterback ever to play quarterback there was Brian Sheriffs.
He was newer, right?
Yeah, he was the later years.
He was later. Yeah.
Tough as nails. I'd have to look.
Was he Diaco or no?
I think he might have been.
I like Tyler Lorenzen. I thought he was tough.
Yeah, he was tough, but I think Bryant was as tough. But quarterbacks, I'd say Shane and Danny would be 1 and 1A. I really can't separate them.
Yeah.
What about I always wondered whatever happened to, because I represented him when I was an agent. He was at UConn, and then he went to he's still in the league, Tim Boyle, and then he went to Eastern Kentucky. Like, I always wondered, what did he play for Diaco? I forgot what happened there.
Boyle was a freshman in 2013.
Okay.
When Coach Pasqualoni got fired after the Buffalo game. And TJ Weiss took over. And they stuck Boyle in as a true freshman out of Xavier against the meat of the schedule that year. And he got crushed. Yeah. Then 3 games to go, they gave Casey Cochran a chance. And Casey was great.
Right.
And so Boyle was pretty much buried. Now, Diaco didn't like Cochran. And how we got into football on Husky Hoops, I'll never know. But it was you asking if you were the top 20 of top 5.
Well, it's Steve Cully. It's always Steve's fault.
You said favorite offensive lineman. Come on.
I have to put myself over. I'm very insecure.
But to get out of this quickly, Diaco buried Tim, and he buried Casey Cochran.
Oh, okay.
I got you. Okay.
And Casey had concussion issues too.
Right.
Right.
Casey was I guess they both were Connecticut, right? No, was Tim Connecticut or was Tim Massachusetts?
No, Tim was Xavier in Middletown.
Oh, okay, yeah. And Casey was Connecticut.
Casey was New Britain and New London, I think.
That's right.
Yep, because he played for his dad. Played for Jack.
Yes, his dad was the coach. That's right.
Played for Jack. Happy Jack.
And then the women, did they play last night and they won, or was it 2 nights ago that they won?
What are you smoking?
Okay, I thought they played.
No, they played Sunday. They had an exhibition game against Division II school, whose chief benefactor is also the person who the basketball facility is named after.
Oh, okay.
Peter Wirt's an alumni of Fort Hays State, so they've
That's
kind
what
of
it was.
become the exhibition game most years for the
women.
for the women, and
Because they play
they open this
BU.
tomorrow night against BU.
Okay. I got that.
Right.
Okay. I was just looking at this.
Is
Wow.
I heard Paige Becker's lit it up.
Yeah,
27 points. Yeah.
she played really well, and I had a hockey game, so I was listening to the radio on the way up. And she didn't even shoot the ball early. She let everybody else get into the game. I mean, she's phenomenal. If she stays healthy, she'll be the top pick in the WNBA draft by far.
Do you think she's better than Juju Watkins, USC's?
I think they'd be one and two. I think Paige would be one, just because. Well, it depends who's draft. It depends who's making the pick. Depends what team.
Yeah. Right. Maria actually picked Juju. Maria thinks Juju's better. When I had her, Maria thought that she.
Diana Taurasi also thought Paige was better than Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, I know. And then they became best friends, and they were on tour this summer. I saw them together playing and practicing, which I thought was kind of cool.
Where'd you see them playing and practicing together?
Paige was on the summer was with
Paige.
Yeah. Not D. No, not D. Not D. No, I saw Paige with Caitlin Clark, and it was cool to see them practicing and shooting around together. She got the chance to go out there during the summer and play. Well, at least practice, because we were never allowed to leave campus. So I think it's good that they get to do that now.
And I heard how do you say it? Azizi Fudd or
yes,
Fudd.
She had a good. She was good last year also.
But she got hurt.
She's got the injury.
Yeah, when she came in, right?
Yeah, and she hasn't played. She didn't play in the exhibition game. She won't play in the first couple games.
So they.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she's really good.
She's a great shooter.
Yeah.
So you think December, January they could get her back?
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're hoping for. Okay. Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, it's exciting now that at least football is back on track. Basketball is starting, and it's just a great time to be in Connecticut. I was happy to be out there again this past weekend for the second time, and I can't wait to come out for a couple basketball games this year. Because the campus is unrecognizable.
As well as they took care of, as Burton took care of you for basketball.
I'm just riding his coattails. Whenever I get the invite, I will go with him. He's going to the UAB game this week.
Has Gamble changed at all? Have they done anything?
They put in huge scoreboards this year.
Oh, they did.
It's a whole different look.
Yeah, I saw it briefly, and it's been upgraded, but it's still. Is it like 9,000 capacity, 10,000? It's right at 10,000. Yeah, and
but they still have no suites or anything like that there.
No.
Just the way it's set up, it's impossible to put those things in.
So that's why
I think they should build a new dome there.
Well, that's why they have the XL Center. That's why they play half the games at the XL Center.
That's Hartford. Right?
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know. That's why we all thought.
This is me as an alumni talking who's not near campus, right? Like,
yes,
that stadium has been around for a long time. Like, I mean, the UConn's won a bazillion championships.
You're right.
We can't build the best arena in the country right on campus.
I didn't even think about that.
Here's my question.
Could they upgrade it? Yeah.
Here's my question, David. Where are you putting it?
Well, I mean,
right. I guess I don't know. That's the question, obviously. But
Well, you could
well,
upgrade Gamble, couldn't you?
if you slammed it all down, could you build up there?
Yeah.
I mean, with Gamble, if you keep it where it is and just
And you
renovate
slammed
it.
it down and you just like literally tore it down. I mean, they destroyed beautiful Memorial Stadium, so they just
Beautiful Memorial Stadium.
Words never uttered by anybody.
no. The stands that went all the way up on one side, like you're at a Division I program, and then on the other side were high school bleachers. So
No, it was funny because I interviewed Julius Williams the other day. He came from Georgia, and he had seen pictures of the old stadium, and he couldn't believe it. He was like, "There's no way I would play in the stadium with the way it was shaped and it looked." And like people, I remember people would watch from the parking garage. That's how it would be, because that one side was huge, our side was low, and then people were all over just trying to get a seat. It was just a mess. But I do wish that they had built the stadium on campus, and I know they tried. And Joe, the other thing, I interviewed some guys from the past, like the early 90s. They had said that even back then they were talking about going to 1A and going into the Big East. I didn't know it was like a project that took like 12 years to go
Oh
through.
yeah.
It was always in talks. Was it always like Lou Perkins? Was that like his vision to make it Division One?
Yes, yeah,
That was him.
yeah. Lou was the godfather of big time football.
Yeah.
At UConn.
Yeah, I totally agree. And may he rest in peace. He was one of a kind. Lou and Larry Hare, my two favorites. So let's see. They got the Sacred Heart, New Hampshire, Lemoyne, Texas A&M. So that's good. So that's good for the first 2
I saw
weeks.
that Tim Tolikin passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that post.
I wanted to mention that Timmy bled blue. He was a big influencer for me, big supporter of Wayne and myself. Transformed athletic communications. Was Jim's confidant, Jim Calhoun's confidant, and will be sorely missed on the planet.
I think he was one of the first. I think he was the first that you kind of do like all the licensing and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. He transitioned from athletic communications to marketing and licensing.
Right.
And then he moved into the sports museum, into the Heritage Sports Museum, the Donnelly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I read about that. That was sad. He did a lot for the program.
He did a lot for the school. A lot for the school.
So I'm looking at this. Wow. So Kansas, Alabama are ranked ahead of us. Iowa State ranked 5th. Isn't that a little high for them? Iowa State?
No, why?
No? Okay. I didn't know they were that. I know Houston, Gonzaga, Duke, Baylor. I was just surprised to see Iowa State in there.
No, he's a good coach.
Yeah.
And they've had good programs.
Yeah. And Kansas.
There's nothing fluky about them.
Okay. And then David mentioned he thought Alabama had improved because of football improving, bringing in the more money with the NIL stuff and it trickling down to basketball, which you definitely can see that in here with some of these schools.
Well, the SEC as a whole has improved.
Yeah.
Of their overall budgets, not NIL, their budgets for facilities and pouring it. Those are two different.
Right.
I don't know if I don't think they get looped in together. But like NIL and the money they make for the athletic departments, which a lot of it comes from football, has been poured in the SEC to basketball.
Right.
Like, those schools have poured it in. Auburn, Tennessee, like places that obviously Auburn's coaches. He was the Tennessee coach.
Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, Bruce Pearl.
Bruce Pearl.
They places like Arkansas or Kentucky have always been pretty good at basketball, but like Ole Miss is good at basketball. Like, I mean,
Right.
so it's you have Texas in there, who's always probably been pretty good. You have Florida. So like overall, it used to be SEC used to be hit or miss. Like it was either like they were good at basketball and they kind of had a tradition there, or they were terrible. Like those, they would be like 8. You'd see the records would be like 10-17 and stuff like that. That is totally flipped. Like all of those teams now are investing heavily in basketball,
Yeah.
which I think is which I find it even more impressive how UConn's doing. It's
Yeah. More with less.
because places that have literally legitimately the ability to build any facility they darn well please for their athletics. I mean, I saw I think it was Georgia they just revealed this new facility for softball. It was out of this planet, like a softball only facility. You know what I mean? So they're able to like cherry pick programs that are doing well outside of football and pour money into it. So if softball's a great program at one of these universities in the SEC, they could legitimately make them their own facility just for softball. They could do that for each one of these sports if they prove that they're doing well. So it's really interesting because I think for UConn, I think outside of football, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, and basketball, there is no other.
Well, not really. The RISA Center is a phenomenal
Is that
facility
hockey?
where baseball,
Oh, baseball. Baseball
and softball have their own separate cages.
Oh, they do.
Yes,
Okay.
it's all separated there.
And volleyball has a pretty good facility, don't they?
Volleyball's got a great facility now.
Yeah. I saw the volleyball
the
one.
soccer teams also have their locker rooms and stuff, their weight rooms, their dining rooms at RISA. So
okay,
that's right. More in line with what most colleges have.
Well, what about hockey now? Are they?
Well, they're all on their own. Toscano's beautiful.
Is it?
Oh wow. I wanted to ask. So, if you're looking at the Power 5 or 4 right now, would you say it would be the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC top 3 conferences?
Well, Big Ten's pretty good. Big Ten's pretty good. I think you can lump them all together. I think Big 12 is probably the best.
Right.
Then the SEC, then the ACC, then the Big Ten, then the Big East.
Big Ten, then the Big East. Okay, so we're in the top 5. So let's get your prediction, Joe. What do you think for tonight against Sacred Heart? How do you think things are going to shake out? How do you think
seriously?
Well, no, I mean, are they going to win big?
Oh, of course they will.
Huge again. They're going to play everyone, and
of course they will. I think if it's anything under
raising the banner,
points, if it's anything under 25 points, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I think Sacred Heart will keep it competitive for as long as they can, but I think UConn's superior in every aspect. So.
And then New Hampshire would you say New Hampshire is better than Sacred Heart?
Not at all.
Okay,
no,
not
I
at
think
all.
I think New Hampshire they trounce, and then we're back next Wednesday. So when I come back with the list of 20 offensive linemen better than you, which from the early research take about a minute and a half.
It's not better than me. It's who you like personally.
Oh well, that'll be even easier.
Oh,
that'll be even easier.
That'll be even easier, Dave. I can't win, Dave.
I'm looking at because we're still talking about linemen. I decided to look at the Toscano ice hockey facility, which is very impressive.
Yep. Yeah.
No, it is that. Dave, I could not recognize the campus.
If for people who haven't been to campus for a while, you'd be amazed at the renovations, not just of the athletic programs, but of the entire footprint of the
Yeah.
school. But
Yeah.
we're here to talk athletics, and between of all the things we talked about, Gamble is the least attractive.
Right.
Worth Center is great. The football facilities are great. The Rizzo Center is great, and Toscano's great.
Where is the Toscano facility? Is that down?
No, it's right next to where the Freitas Ice Forum used to be.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the back over there.
Steve, this facility is unbelievable.
Dave, I was just there. Like I got lost. I couldn't believe it. Like
it's funny. I was there like 5 years, 4 years ago, but I don't know. Some of these things maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Some of these things may not have been built. I think the basketball.
None of them were.
Oh, they were? None of them were?
None of them were built. No.
None of them were built. Okay.
The basketball one was built, I think.
I think basketball was being built when I was there.
It was being built then.
Yeah. It was being built because I would have went in if it was built.
Because when I saw the basketball and the volleyball, I was like, wow, it's just so impressive, the facilities. I mean, it's an arms race now with all the schools.
Yeah, sure.
It's an arms race to see who can have the best facilities. But I think it'll be fun. I'm going to get a chance to watch some UConn basketball. Joe, were they ranked 5th in the tournament last year? When they won, were they 5th overall?
No, they were top seed.
They were a 1 seed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking 2 years ago they were a 5 seed.
You watched basketball last year?
Yeah, I think I did. I did watch it. I couldn't remember. I know they won it 1 year as the 5 seed. I couldn't remember if it was this year or last year they were a 5 seed.
I don't think they were a 5 seed a couple of years ago.
2 years ago?
No, I don't think they were.
Okay.
I think you're thinking somebody. I think you're not smoking menthol. I'll just put it that way.
All right, I'm going to check it out. I'll check it out. But so I guess we've survived another episode of Husky Hoops, and
we need games. We need games for Husky Hoops because that's basketball.
Well,
games they play in a week.
Well, yeah, and I can smoke more cigarettes too. So, and then Joe's going to have a list of 50 offensive linemen that he likes better
50.
than.
Wow.
I didn't say 50. And by the way, I was wrong about Worth. It opened in 2014.
Is that the basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it when I went back to see Randy in 2018, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So, Coach Schuman, the Coach Schuman YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button. Get us to 1 million subscribers.
37,000 away.
You're going to be the next big thing, the next big influencer, and the man himself, the icon, the best of the best. Even though I'm in the top 20, at least for now, the icon.
Slow your roll.
Joe,
slow your roll on that top 20 thing, Cully.
Joe D.
All right, boys.
Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.